morning to everyone once again. Right, today we're going to do the last sutta in this volume 40, or 40A actually, because this is a double volume, and we go on to 40B. This is a very interesting volume on levels of learning. This sutta is very long. The translation is a full translation without any shortcuts, without any exemplars. It's about 40 pages, 40A, 4 pages long, plus another 12 pages of introduction. Right? Oh, don't worry, we're not going to do everything page by page. I'm going to summarize for you, give you the gist of it. It's a very important sutta, and it's in the class of the Pāsādika Sutta. In other words, it records a late age, a late time in the Buddha's ministry. Okay, this is the kind of sutta that is telling us how to preserve the Buddha's teaching, how to protect the Dharma. Okay, how to prevent the Dharma from deteriorating and from disappearing. Okay? You know, something worse than the Dharma disappearing is low quality Dharma. Okay? Wrong kind of teaching. That's even more troublesome. For me, my Buddhist journey started very young. I was a mid-teenage, around secondary school already started. And all those years I've studied as much of Buddhism as I can. And I started with, I don't know what I started with actually, it's just Buddhism, you might say. We are talking about 40, 50 years ago. I don't think anybody really know the kind of Buddhism we know today in Malaysia and Singapore. Then as I went along, I found that sooner or later I need to come back to the early teachings. So the word early Buddhism is very meaningful today. Some scholars, some people may tell you, we don't really know what early Buddhism is, we don't even know what the Buddha taught. That's not true. Okay? We can know what the Buddha teach, provided you do your meditation also. You cannot understand the suttas if you do not do some kind of mindfulness practice or meditation. That's what Buddhism is about. It's about mind training. It's just like you're reading a driving manual, you're never planning to drive, you don't even own a car. So, even if you don't own a car, you can still rent a car. So, the suttas are like a driving manual. Your teacher is like a driving coach. Right? Another thing we should know is the suttas are like computer programs. And if you know a bit of computer programming, every line counts. You cannot cut short, you cannot shorten any of the lines, you cannot say etc. in a computer program. Okay? There's a very important reason why the suttas repeat themselves, and that's the secret. If you want to be awakened, that's the secret, the key to awakening, the repetitions. Because the repetition are telling what is important. They tell us what is important in the suttas. Of course, there are times when the repetition is more like historical, or even Maharaj will sometimes get repeated, because those are different. Okay? But on the majority, the texts in the suttas which are repeated are those which the Buddha, the teachers want us to remember. Not just remember, but also internalize. In other words, for example, you keep hearing, form is impermanent. What is impermanent is unsatisfactory. What is impermanent and unsatisfactory is non-self. You go listening. At first it's just listening, then one day slowly the meaning becomes very clear to you, and you know it already, even without the words. Alright? Then also you find, for example, the teaching on impermanence. It's not just everything is impermanent. The sutta tells us form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness, or eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, is impermanent, subject to change, becoming otherwise. So there are three aspects. So all this, when you listen, something changes in you. So studying the suttas, becoming a Buddhist, is about self-transformation. you change into a happier person, more contented person, wiser person, kinder person, more generous person in every way. Okay, so this is what the suttas are about. That is why when I told myself I need to go back to the early teaching, because the early teachings don't talk big grand stories and which you can't put into action, which are not very useful really. They tell us clearly what to do step by step, how to train your mind. Okay? In this sutta, the sutta starts off with the death of Niganta Nataputta. Niganta Nataputta, if you look at page 138, is the leader of the Jains. Now the Jains are a very interesting group of contemporaries of the Buddha. They are very strict compared to the Buddhists. They are vegetarians and they are very careful about not killing animals and so on. Even when they walk on the road, they'll have a kind of a soft peacock feather to gently sweep the road to make sure you don't step on animals or any kind of insects. Then they wear some kind of mask, so they don't breathe in or insects don't fly into their mouth, for example. And also because they are so strict, that the group is very small also. In fact, last week we went for some Indian food in Little India, Race Course Road. I saw only one restaurant, that big sign out there. They say, we offer Jain food. Jain vegetarian food is very strict vegetarian. So they still exist. This is the interesting thing. So here, just to a very important diversion, how is it that Jains, that Jainism survived in India from the time they started until today? All the time that, despite the fact that Muslims came and so on, whereas Buddhism disappeared. And very often we blame the Muslims, say, oh, they attacked, they killed the monks and so on. Well, they did that, but they didn't kill all the monks. But the reason they came to India and to attack the temples is a very important reason we must always remember. In a sense, the Buddha already warned about all these things. There are suttas in the Samyutta Nikaya. The Buddha specifically says, monks, you must be very careful of honor, gains,
praise.
Sorry?
Praise.
Yeah, okay? You must be very careful of all these things which make you feel big and rich and strong. Okay? So this, what happened is the monks, the monastics became more popular, lost of donation, the temples become very rich, you get statues of gold and 7 jewels, people feel good donating, and so these temples became very rich, fabulously rich. In Singapore you can see this kind of temples around. Some even have swimming pools and badminton courts, especially only for the monks, by the way. So you can imagine all these stories of fabulous wealth. The monastics went back to Turkey, to the Middle East, and these people, they were marauders. They were horsemen, unemployed, so they go around robbing. So they were eyeing India for decades, many decades. Then in the 12th century, they all came down, bit by bit, in many waves, and then they took over the Buddhist temples, melted the images, cut out all the jewels and so on, and they started their own sultanates, their own, kingdom and so on. So Buddhism was wiped out because of that, because Buddhism based itself on wealth at that time. That kind of Buddhism was wiped out. In China, same thing. In China, Buddhism got involved in politics. In Japan, in Korea, the government banned Buddhism. In Japan also, they introduced a law in the Meiji period. No monks are allowed to be ordained because the monks got involved with politics, with power, with wealth. But Buddhism survived in Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, because they seriously practice. There are a group of them who seriously practice meditation, and that protected them, to put it very simply. Okay? So these are very important clues for us to understand. If we are talking about religion, we must definitely show the world we are religious, we are people of peace. Whatever happens out there, we are not going to get involved. After all, we have renounced the world as renunciants. So we are always there for peace. Now, if you can have that kind of assurance, you'll always be safe. For example, in Thailand, those forest monks, they move around in the forest, and then somebody told them, hey, you better don't go there. There are communists in the forest, The monk says, communists, no difference to me, they're human beings. And that's true, because the communists won't kill them. The monks say, oh, this is unlucky to kill a monk. However, he's got no weapons, So the monks, wherever they go, they are monks, they are renunciants, they are safe. See? And this is a very important thing to remember. Okay? But we forgot this in India. This is the real reason why Buddhism disappeared in India, which nobody wants to talk about. Okay? Because we are repeating this today in Singapore and elsewhere. So, the Jains, on the other hand, they are very serious about their practice. Whether monks or laymen, they learn their own Dharma, they're teaching us about Dharma. So even lay people will teach Dharma in their own homes, the Jains. So the Muslim marauders couldn't recognize who they are. So they kept on their practice until today. Right? But in this story, we have the time when the leader died. But at that time, there was a bit of disorganization. Okay? There were groups fighting each other, couldn't decide what's the real teaching and so on. But they survived that apparently because they managed to come down to today. So even though they split, the group still protected the teachings in their own way, and the teaching survived. Right? So the story opens with the Jains, with the Jain founder's death. Okay, look at page 138. Right? Thus have I heard. Got that? Section 1. At one time, the Blessed One was staying amongst the Sakyas in a terrace building in a mango grove of the Sakya named Vedanya. Okay, so this sutta, the background is in Kapilavatthu, probably Kapilavatthu, right? Just another Sakyas. Then, now at that time, Niganta Anantakutta had just died at Pawa. Now, Pawa is a bit south of Kapilavatthu. Okay? So they are all, both these places are in the north of central India. On account of his death, the Nigrantas, these are the followers of the Jains, called Nigrantas, split into two factions, fallen into strife, dispute, and quarrels, and dwelt cutting and piercing one another with weapons of words. So they started quarreling with each other, and they say, you do not know this Dharma-vinaya, I know this, and so on. They quarrel. So it was a very unhappy situation. Even the white-dressed laymen disciples of the Jains also were not happy. So imagine the monks were arguing with each other. So their white-dressed lay followers also not happy. These are the Jains. So this is, in other words, here the stress here is that the Dharma, the teaching was badly taught, not properly taught. So when the teacher died, things got a bit messed up. So there's a very interesting word here. You look at 1.5. As to how the Dharma-vinaya was badly taught, poorly proclaimed, not leading to liberation, not conducive to peace, not taught by one fully awakened. This is the phrase, very interesting phrase, stupa breaking. Stupa breaking. It means undermining the very foundation without any refuge. So if we teach something stupa breaking, wow, that's really harmful to Buddhism, For example, there are some so-called sutras outside early Buddhism. We say, the arahats still need to learn some more. They need to become Buddhas. Now, once you talk like that, my goodness, it's really very bad karma. Because there are so many suttas where the Buddha says an arahat is the final goal. The Buddha himself is an arahat, right? So to say such thing, obviously the writers do not know, or they disregarded, disrespected early suttas, right? So that's called stupa breaking, right? So that is why we need to preserve the early teaching, so that people don't start inventing new suttas and giving their own ideas about religion. Today we have all kinds of meditation done by the psychologists, managers, and so on. I mean, we're not against that, but you've got to understand what those things are. Okay, they're worldly things. They help you to be calm, yes, but that's it. Okay? So you have secular or worldly kind of meditation or mindfulness, then you have the proper kind of meditation and mindfulness. So you must know the difference. So when you know the difference, then you won't get confused, and you practice the right way. Then there was this, I think Sariputta's younger brother, Chunda Samanudesa. Samanudesa is an old word for novice monk. So he was a novice monk, but this name stuck with him throughout his life. Although he became an elder, they still call him noviceness, Samanudesa, right? Chunda. So he saw this one and he was very concerned, he was very troubled. He said, wow, look at this, the Jains, they're quarreling with each other, all their monks are split up. I say, well, what if this happens to our own Sangha, So he talks to Ananda, this section 2. So Ananda, as usual, say, wow, yeah, this is a serious matter, we must bring it up to the Buddha. That's kind of what the Buddha has to say. So there's always this connection with the Buddha, as a living teacher. Right? So you notice 2.2, there's a big section there all italicized. Now once you see italicized, that means it's a mirror repetition, mirror image of what already happened earlier on. But I put everything there because the monks love this, the forest monks. They're very patient, they read all this, so they reflect on it, right? So we don't have to read it here. And so Ananda told the Buddha what happened. They meet the Buddha, section 3. Look at section 3. Then the Venerable Ananda and Chunda Samanudesa approached the Blessed One. Having approached him, they saluted him and sat down at one side. And then they Ananda related everything to the Buddha. Okay? Then the Buddha answers. The teaching now starts. Look at the heading there. The Buddha's teaching, what section to what section. Now all this is to help the book reader. Our tradition is a reading tradition. So these headers, the paragraphing numbers are very important. It helps us to not get lost. And you can compare this style and you can open up one of the translations by this publisher, Wisdom Publication. You find a big chunk. It's very terrifying to read. You don't know where one sentence ends, where it starts, where it ends. So here we try to break up ideas and so on. So when you read, it's very easy. Lots of notes and lots of details. So the Buddha starts teaching, and there are subheadings: wrong teaching, deviant disciples. Yes, indeed, Chunda, says the Buddha. The Dharma-vinaya was badly taught, poorly proclaimed, not leading to liberation, not conducive to peace, not taught by one fully self-awakened. This actually is the gist. This is what's called the thesis. This one line is expanded into 30 over pages after this, right? Then the Buddha begins his teaching. Here, Chunda, the teacher was not fully self-awakened. Here the Buddha is referring to Meghantanatha Buddha. And the Dharma was badly taught, or poorly proclaimed, not leading to liberation, not conducive to peace, not proclaimed by one fully self-awakened. And the disciples in that Dharma does not dwell practicing the Dharma in accordance with the Dharma. You see, practicing the Dharma in accordance with the Dharma. Okay? Dharma nu Dhamma patipatti. And this is very important. Everyone practices Dharma, but the real practice is in accordance with the Dharma. In other words, when you practice the Dharma, you can see in the suttas. The meditation teachers practice it, it brings you peace and calmness, and you are happy, liberated. Okay? Not some new invention. Okay? Then the Buddha continues, he says, 4.4, one should speak, there's a bit of typo there, one should speak to him in this way. This I was so, he has a good fortune again for you, this is a very good fortune for you. Your teacher was not fully awakened. So in other words, here is where the Buddha says, okay, you come to the situation where the teaching is wrong, the students are confused and they're not practicing, the Buddha says you can tell the students, this of course of another religion or they're practicing wrong kind of Buddhism, if you like. You can tell the students, say, no, it's good that you're not practicing it because this is wrong teaching after all. The Buddha says if you do this, this is correct. Okay? Because if you say, oh, it's okay, freedom of religion, or you go practicing it, you're only promoting wrong view. Okay? So, of course, all this is done in a calm and peaceful way. We are not there just to please everyone. Okay? Let's suppose someone comes to you and tells you, I met this teacher, he claims he's enlightened. The other day we met someone was passing leaflets at one of the MRT station. The people say, this teacher is enlightened already, so he's teaching meditation, so why don't you come and join the meditation, talk about lights and so on. And someone from Korea. So if someone comes here and say, oh, I met this awakened teacher, from Singapore, wow, he's very well qualified, got PhD, And all you need to do is, you bow down and you knock your head 3 times hard on the floor. You do that every day, once at least, and then you're sure to be reborn in heaven. You know very well this guy is all confused, right? So if you say, oh, it's all right, but practice what you what you want. Obviously, it's a bad advice, right? Because this person will think he's right because nobody told him he's wrong. So here's a chance you have. You meet this person, you must tell this person, no, you should not practice like this. It doesn't help. Now, whether this person accepts what you say or not doesn't matter. Important thing, you have told this person what needs to be told. Then later on, the person will think, yeah, I remember this person told me like this. Then that will guide them. Okay? It's very important. You don't become a Buddhist for popularity, right? You become a Buddhist to tell people the right thing, so that in the end they go the right way. And this is what has guided me all along. Okay? You've got to tell people what needs to be told, especially told at the right time. So this is where the Buddha said just that. Yeah? Then the next section, wrong teachings, faithful disciples. Okay, in this case, here the teacher is not fully enlightened, the disciples, they practice the teaching. So here again, they're practicing the wrong things. Yeah? Right? So you tell the person, say, well, you should not be doing this, it's not very helpful anyway, right? So it's better for you to follow the proper way. So in this case, you are doing the right thing, right? Because if you don't, then if you tell the person, oh, go on practicing it, then you are creating demerit also. Now, a lot of us, we still don't understand that if we practice the wrong thing, there are consequences. You might not see it, but it builds up. It builds up. You get more confused and so on. And then your rebirth will not be good. Okay? Of course, you can say we don't know about future rebirth, but the important thing is, do not be afraid to ask questions. And if the teachers really know their teachings and they're patient and they're wise, they will give you very clear, patient answer. Maybe at first it's not so clear, but slowly you begin to understand what they're trying to say, and then you see the way for yourself. Okay? Right, now section 6. Now we are talking about the true teaching. There is the Buddha. Okay?
Sorry, can I just stop you there?
Sure.
Can I just summarize what I hear?
Yeah.
This whole, what you just talked about.
Okay.
Essentially, it means that the disciple was ought to be praised for not following the
Wrong
teacher
teaching.
or the teacher's teachings of the Dharma, because the teachings and the teacher were wrong.
Yeah.
So
Not just the Dharma, it can be any religion, including Buddhism. It can be any religion, including Buddhism.
So, okay, all right, okay. So the Dharma here means not just Buddha Dharma, right?
Yeah, it just means teaching, truth.
All right, okay, thank you.
Okay. I mean, it's just like you see someone going the wrong way, or worse, you see this old man or old lady walking on the dark 5-foot way, there's a big hole. Or you tell it's not my business, just keep quiet. That's not right, isn't it? Because this person is going to fall and could die, And you are there, you're simply saying, be careful, don't go there, stop. You could help this person. And if you don't, this person suffers, right? So this is where this idea behind what the Buddha is saying. If you have the chance to tell people, tell them. Okay? Even if it's indirectly, tell them. Alright?
I think in relation to what you just mentioned, the problem is a disciple who hears the wrong Dharma from the wrong teacher. At that point in time, you may not know his word.
True.
Until it is, let's say, the Buddha, and gets the correction. So he may not know what to do.
Yes. So, that is why, as I said, if we know the suttas, and when we know that this disciple is confused, we are in a very special position. We know this person has come to us, we should tell this person afterwards, right? For example, very often I get people coming to me asking me, okay, what should I do? I want to be a monk, or I want to study this sutta, but which sutta should I study, things like that. So obviously I have to tell them what's best for them, So we have this duty in ours to inform them. Okay? All right. So now which section are we now? 7, 8, right? Is that 8?
6.
Oh, 6, sorry. Right, section 6. But here, Chunda, there is the fully self-awakened Buddha. Right, now the Buddha is talking about his own teachings. And the Dharma is well taught, well proclaimed, leading to liberation, conducive to peace, taught by one fully self-awakened. Now notice how the Dharma is defined. Well taught, that means properly structured, well proclaimed, taught in a way which is effective, leading to liberation. You practice all this for freeing yourself from suffering and defilements. Conducive to peace. You feel peaceful, calm, your mind becomes clear. And it is taught by the Buddha himself, not by some self-proclaimed or some kind of prophet from Japan or Tibet or anywhere else, but the Buddha himself. But the disciple in the Dharma does not dwell practicing the Dharma in accordance with the Dharma. He does not go about with proper practice, nor faring or living in accordance with the Dharma, but deviates from the Dharma. Okay? So one should speak or one should tell him in this way. This also is a misfortune, non-gain for you. This also is bad misfortune for you. Your teacher is the fully self-awakened Buddha, and the Dharma is well taught, and so on, but you do not practice properly. Okay? Now I must tell you, this is Buddha's advice. It's not always easy, to say this. Because sometimes the people who practice are very powerful people, very rich people. So you tell them, very well-educated people, right? There are many ways of telling them. Sometimes by merely your presence. And when you have the chance to speak, you speak. Or when you have a chance to write, you write clearly. And people really, they are informed. Otherwise, we are also part of the problem. Remember, if you don't make an effort to solve the problem, and you can do it, and you remain silent, you become part of the problem. Because later on, the person will tell you, nobody told us. Nobody told us. And you go on practicing wrongly. But a simple statement can raise the quality of Buddhism in the future. Right? So this is called self-effort. Yeah? So this is what the Buddha said. You tell the disciple, the Buddha has given us his teachings. The Dharma is well proclaimed, but you are practicing the wrong thing. Right? So notice just before 6.10, they all generate much merit. Right? So you do this, you create wonderful, good karma. Next section, true teaching, true disciple. This is a happy one. Section 7. Now here, Chunda, there is the fully self-awakened Buddha, and the Dharma is well taught, and so on. The disciple also, the disciple in that Dharma dwells practicing the Dharma in accordance with the Dharma. He goes about with proper practice. faring or living in accordance with the Dharma and does not deviate from the Dharma. One should speak to him in this way. This is good fortune. This is wonderful. Right? So you encourage the person, in other words. So when you encourage in this way, this also is good merit, great merit for you, something worthwhile doing. All right? Now, please remember, here we're not saying we should be zealous, going around threatening people. No. When you have the chance to speak, you speak. When the occasion is right, you speak. Okay? Right. For example, I find myself in this situation because of having known Buddhism for so long, for over 40, 50 years now. So in a sense, I have no choice. I've just got to take a stand. But you got to say it in a very nice way, in a way, as much as you can. Of course, sometimes you have a chance to really stress things, you do that. So you must know how to say it in an effective way. A friendly way, firm way, soft way, loud way, depends. Right? We can say it with humility, but we must say it with clarity, in other words. And when you do your meditation, your mind is very clear, then you can write some things to inspire people, to make people happy. Some people think that whatever we write is not effective. In a sense, that's true, because they say whatever you write, people read, forget about it. You really want to change people, you need an education system. That's true. But to have a good education system, you must have good materials. So some of these things we may write, people may not bother about them while we are alive, but we are leaving a legacy behind. If those works are worth reading, after we are dead, those works will have a very powerful impact on the future generations. So in other words, if you speak for the Dharma, I never doubt that your words will somehow be heard sooner or later. But you're not speaking for yourself, you're speaking for the Dharma. Or the Dharma speaks through you, even as one way of looking at it. Now we're talking about the teacher passing away, next section, the disciples' regret at the teacher. 8. Now here Chunda, teacher arises in the world, and Arahat, fully self-awakened Buddha, and then second part, the Dharma was well taught, and so on. But the disciples have not been shown the meaning of the true Dharma, and to whom the holy life, complete and pure, has not been presented or made clear, and all the steps fully laid out, shown to be well grounded, and here the Pali word is shown with wonders, pratihariya, well proclaimed amongst the devas and humans, because of the teacher's passing away. This is mentioned a few times in the sutta. The Buddha himself said that there were Buddhas in the past. Some Buddhas did not present their teaching systematically. So when these Buddhas passed away, their teaching ends with them. But our Buddha is very compassionate. He laid out everything systematically. So the monks know what to do, the dharmas are there, the lay people also know what to do. So that is why people ask me, which center should I go to? Or you want to be a monk, which center should I go to? This is the guideline. The teaching is there. The Vinaya is there. So it's very important for us to know the Dharma and the Vinaya. These are the two things going together. Always Dharma-vinaya. Abhidharma is not mentioned in early texts. Abhidharma is a later thing. Okay? You can forget about Abhidharma if you like. If you are strong in your Dharma-vinaya and your meditation, you'll be a good teacher. So, in this case, the teacher passes away and he did not present the Dharma in a systematic way. Then the teaching will be lost. Later on, somewhere later on, you find the Buddha mentions there are the 7 sets of teachings, the key ideas. We'll come to that in a moment. You have before you this document. This is an example of how the Buddha's teaching was preserved through his teaching, and his pupils systematically arranged his teaching, especially Sariputta. At least Sariputta was attributed with this special ability and effort. Sariputta, as you know, is the wisest of the monk after the Buddha. He has got this very great wisdom, And the last two suttas of the Digha Nikaya are attributed to him. The Sangiti Sutta and the Dasuttara Sutta. I mean, it's amazing. Sariputta is like a grand librarian of the Buddha. You know? He lists all the teachings. And you know, some of these teachings are not found in the Sutta, so we know that the teaching is lost. You know? We only left with a list of topics on it. Right? It's that. So if we look around, maybe we might get hints of what it's all about. Right? So the last two suttas of the Digha Nikaya is like a catalogue of the Buddha's teaching. And from there you can know, oh, these are the list of the Buddha's teaching. Thousands of them. But you can summarize all this teaching into the 7 sets. The 7 sets total up with the 37 limbs of awakening. Bodhipakya Dharma, which we'll look at in a moment. Yeah? Of course, you will say, wow, the number 37 is quite big. And don't worry, just go down to number 4 is enough, 4 noble truths. Okay? Then the next section, the disciples' regret, lack of regret in the teacher. When the pupils are not afflicted, they have no regret. Because why? Here, the teacher has risen in the world, Arahat, self-awakened Buddha, and the Dharma also well taught, and the disciples also has been shown the meaning and purpose of the true Dharma. 9.3, and whose disciples have been shown the meaning, brackets, purpose of the true Dharma. So you see the square brackets, okay? Meaning, and then square brackets, purpose, okay? Now this is called literary device or critical apparatus. This helps us, instead of having too many footnotes, I purposely use this method. So you look at it at once, you know. You look at the word meaning, and then brackets, purpose. So in your mind, meaning, purpose, 2 words appear in your mind. So you know the 2 words are connected. The Pali word here is atta. Atta, A-T-T-H-A. Now atta can mean meaning. Atta can also mean purpose. So I can't think of a single English word that has got both the meanings. So I put it in this way. This is called an alternate translation. You can choose either one. Or if you take both, then they're called amplified translation. In other words, you expand the meaning. Amplified translation. Okay? So when you read the sutta, you have a better idea in your head what it means. So you can see here, translation is not a very easy task. You know? So we have to present the teaching as clearly as possible. So here there's a living Buddha. The Buddha arose in the world and he left the teaching very systematically. And the disciples have been shown the meaning and purpose of the true teaching, with all the steps fully laid out, well grounded with his wonders, well proclaimed among devas and humans before the teacher's passing away. In other words, the teacher teaches the Dharma properly while he was alive. And the Buddha did this for 45 years, right? A lot of teachings. So in this case, when the teacher passes away, the pupils have no regrets. No regrets in the sense they say, oh, the teacher left without any teaching. No such regret, no affliction. Right?
The teacher here is Buddha.
Buddha, yes. Buddha. Okay, so one part finished, huh? And now the Buddha talks about the practicing of the teaching itself. Now, the first part, not accomplishing the holy life. Section 10. If Chunda, the holy life is accomplished by these factors, in other words, the teaching is complete, but there is no elder teacher of long standing, long gone forth. The translation is a bit revised. Yours is the old one. Here I've combined the 2 words, elder teacher, rather than teacher and elder of long standing. An elder teacher of long standing, long gone forth, far gone down the road of life, well matured in age. On account of this factor, the holy life is unaccomplished. So you have the Buddha, but it doesn't have elder disciples. Then again, not complete. Yeah? Who are the elder disciples? The elders of all the disciples is Kondanya. Kondanya is older than the Buddha. He was there when the Buddha was born, you remember? And later he became a monk. He was the first to become a stream winner, and then became Arhat after 5 months. So he is the eldest of all the monks. And then you have Sariputta, who is wisest of the monks after the Buddha. And you have many other old monks. They are called the great elders, 80 great elders, Asiti Mahatera. Okay? So if you don't have this kind of elders, then again, problem. In other words, you have teacher and all young monk, right? So it's very difficult, right? So if you go to any monastery today, good monasteries, retreat centers, you find there's upper and then you've got senior monks. Right? Then if no senior monks, that means the holy life here means the monastic life is still not accomplished, not complete. Now suppose, next part, number 12, so there is an elder monk, but there is no elder monk disciples, right? So you've got the Buddha, you've got the elder monks, but no elder monk disciples. In other words, monks who are practicing and they stay long enough, okay? That means more than, say, 20 years in the order, okay? Again, not complete. So here we have what is called, the method here is called concatenation. In programming, we call it concatenation. In other words, keep on adding one value, one line. So first, there's the Buddha, and then the elder teacher, not just an elder, he's also a teacher. And then you got the monk, you got the Buddha, the elder teacher, but no elder monk disciples. Again, not complete. Okay? Then, now I will summarize for you because the passages will repeat themselves. So now the Buddha says, okay, you have elder monk disciples also, but you don't have middling monks. Middling monks are those monks from 5 years to 10 years old. Okay? You don't have this new blood, so to speak. Again, not complete. Right? So you must have Buddha, elder teachers, elder monk disciples, middling monk disciples. Okay? They only complete. Now, if you have all this, but you don't have new monk disciples, okay, look at section brackets 3, and then 12.21. That's the key line which is different. The rest of all the template, everything is the same, repeat themselves. But there were no new monk disciples. Nawa bhikkhu sawaka. Previously I translated as novice monks. I've been thinking about it, then I now change to. Can you see section 12.21? 12.21.
Where does it say, sorry,
Yeah, sure, it's okay.
I have to lost you a bit.
No, sir.
Okay, on page 144, not accomplishing the holy life.
Look at the highlighted
There's no
words.
teacher, there is an elder. There is a teacher,
Yes.
there is no elder disciple. Where does it say the Buddha is required?
It's implied here. Implied, because if you look at section 10, it
Yes.
says, if Chunda, the holy life is accomplished by these factors. These factors, that means what said earlier. The passage earlier, just before that, section 9, the Buddha says, look at 9, now here Chunda, a teacher arises in the world. An Arahat, a fully self-awakened Buddha. He's referring to himself. So that's the first person. Okay, so from there, here the Buddha is talking an ideal sasana. So in a sense, he's talking about the way he structured the whole sasana. Okay, and in a smaller scale, Buddhist monastery also will follow this. Right? In other words, what we are looking at now are the different kinds of monks. Then you have the new monks. The new monks are those from 0 years just ordained to 5 years. Okay? So just to go back one more time, we start from 0 to 5 years as a monk, Upasampada. It's called Nawa Bhikkhu or Nawaka Bhikkhu, new monks.
5 to 10 years is long.
0 to 5. Just ordained to 5 years, Nawa Bhikkhu, new monk. 5 to 10 years, once they finish 5 wasa, that means they qualify to be called middling monks, Majjhima. But usually in a monastery, we don't bother. The first 10 years, we just keep quiet. After 10 years, then we say, we call it Mahatera. Actually, it's Tera, but we sometimes call Mahatera. We respect this person after 10 years. Then 10 to 20 is Tera. 20 onwards is Mahatera. Okay, so these are the monks, all right? And then the tone shifts to non-disciples. Okay, notice section 4, brackets 4. That is 12.30. You know, I have to really beg forgiveness, all these numbers are really big. It's not my fault, it's the early editors, you know, they give a big chunk of the Pali text, just one number. And it's so difficult to, teach in this class, so I've numbered them myself, right? Easier to refer to. Okay, so look at 12:30. If Chunda, the holy life is accomplished in this factor, you have the elder teacher, elder monk disciples, middling monks, new monks. But there are no elder nun disciples, not complete. There you see, some people say, we cannot have nuns anymore. But this sutta supports nuns, right? Okay? So you must have elder nun disciples, not just nuns, but elder nun disciples. So once you have elder nun disciple, the community, the holy life is complete. To that extent. Then you also need middling nun disciple. Look at section 12.53, 12.53. Can you see that? Middling monk disciple. Right? You see, the importance of all this is reflected in the repetition. You see, a whole chunk of Payala, this is called Payala. Everything is repeated, in Pali, it's chanted in Pali. Only this one new phrase is changed.